Well, another day is here. Sunday Adelaja here from Kyiv, Ukraine. Welcome everyone. A wonderful day. A day of God's revelation. Shegun Fatima, you're the first one. You are always the first and not the last, the head and not the tail. Welcome. Boss Fayajola, you are always running after him. Victor Goodikwe, good morning. Okay, Udo. Michael David, hello. Rochelle White, good morning. Ola Martin. Rochelle White, where are you watching from, Rochelle? Are you from the United States or somewhere else over there? Cyril, good morning. Daniels. She Sandra, Owokade, Angie, Flag, Bash, Obi, Faith, Mashu. Morning to all of you. Tokumbo, blessings. Charles Smith, Beate, Adebayo Lannan, Joti Dowu, good morning. Elijah Williams, Apostle Yomi Onodikwe, Bebe Undum, Esther Kuganja, Iziegbe, Onihale, Sheldon Thomas, blessings, Eric Shemboin, Mayowa, good morning. Carl David, how are you today? Grace, blessings. Sonny, Kazim, blessings. Kayode, Marshall has shared, okay? Johan, good morning. Nkiru Okeke, morning. Gabriel Femi, good morning today. Tarila, good morning. Dennis, hi. Elijah, good morning. Oluwakorede, how are you doing today? Red Wine, oh, is that your name, Red Wine? Okay. Fasil, good morning. Everson, Obina, Showme, Natalia Kalida, she's from my house, right from my house here. She's watching right from my house here. Natalia Kalida. Angel, good morning. Jacqueline Ojo, hi. Ademola Titus, hi. Well. Okay, Rochelle says she's watching from New Zealand. I just love what I'm learning from you. It's changing my thinking. By the way, are you coincidentally from Pastor Prince's church? Pastor Prince Shikeze's church? No? Or you are, maybe not, but I'm just interested. What city are you from in New Zealand? That might be interesting. What city are you from in New Zealand? Do you know I've been to New Zealand? Did you see my messages in New Zealand? Some of those messages are on YouTube and on my, of course, on my blog. So I've been to New Zealand maybe twice or so. Yeah. Well, everyone, let's okay. Who is that? Red Wine is saying you want to talk to me? Okay. Red Wine. Are you sure that's your name? And you want to talk to me with that? Who is that name? Red Wine? You want to talk to me with Red Wine? Okay, you know what? I'm just going to give you my email. And then you write me, okay? My email is pastor@godembassy.org. Pastor@godembassy. God Embassy is one word. godembassy.org, okay? You can write me. Now, I want you all to go look for your share button. Go look for your share button. And let's share the link before we start. As soon as you finish sharing, then we could go ahead and share, okay? Good morning, Nkem Dike. Ike Shuku, good morning as well. So let's go share the link. Go look for your share button. And once you share that, then we can proceed. Okay. Okay, Rochelle is answering my question saying, I'm in the North Island, Papamoa Bay of Plenty. No, I just found you on Facebook. Wow. You know, it means God is leading you, my dear. God must be leading you. If you just found me by Facebook, on Facebook, that is interesting. All right, now that you have all shared the message, do you want to get the title for today? You know, I just got myself into prayers this week. I've been talking about the kingdom, and prayer is part of the kingdom, believe it or not. So today I'm going to be talking on this topic. Listen closely. Prayer, a place of discovering God and self. Prayer, a place of discovering God and self. Prayer, a place of discovering God and self, a place of discovering God and self. Now, you know, sometimes when we talk about prayer or think about prayer, we don't often think about discovery. And when we talk about prayer, we don't often think about discovering self or discovering God. Unfortunately, when we talk about prayers, we normally think about needs. And that's a mistake. When we talk about prayers, we should be thinking about God. And when we talk about prayers, we should be thinking about His needs. When we think about prayer, we should be thinking about His agenda, purpose, goals. And then when we think about prayers, we should be thinking about us and how we could discover Him and be like Him. So prayer is not just a place of going for our needs to be met. Prayer is a place of discovery. Remember that. Prayer is a place of discovery. Like I said, Matthew chapter 6 is a much telling chapter on prayers. There's so much on prayers. There's so much lessons you could learn from Matthew chapter 6 about prayers that you could learn from any other passage on prayers, that you could learn from any book on prayers in your whole life. You know, Matthew chapter 6 is rich. Matthew chapter 6 is amazing. It will tell you about kingdom praying. Not egocentric praying, not paganistic praying, not praying like the Gentiles, but Matthew chapter 6 is going to open your eyes to discover and to teach you about real prayers and about God's priority in praying and what prayer is supposed to be about. So prayer is a place of discovering God. That is why when Jesus was giving us that instruction, you remember, people came to him and asked him how is the best way to pray. And the thing it started with, if you still remember, it says in our Lord's Prayer, our Father. Prayer is a place of discovering the Father. See that? Pay attention to that. Pay attention to that. It's a place of discovery. So prayer should be a place you come to, not just to say, oh God, I just run off. That's easy to do. Everybody can hit the gas and just take off. But before you take off, take your time and notice who is standing before you. By the way, you will discover that God has been there in that room waiting for you before you get there. So when you go to prayers, or when you imagine prayer or think about prayer, you want to first of all be still and know that I am God. You know, that is key. That is very key. So when you think of prayer, when you think of praying, when you think of, appearing before God, just be still. That's moment of stillness is what makes you to imagine and envisage and, put God's presence and imagine the presence of God, His presence just before you. That is very important when you are praying. Don't ever start praying without, first of all, seeing the Father or seeing yourself before Him. Imagine Him here. See yourself in your inner mind, with your inner eyes, with your spiritual eyes, that He is here with me. Or you could see yourself in His presence and imagine yourself in the presence of the Master. See yourself as that little kid, that little baby, at the lap of the loving Father. Just place yourself on that lap, just like you do with your mom or you do with your dad. All gone to Him. Love on Him. Then you could begin to pour your heart out to Him. So prayer is a place of discovering God. But not just as God, not discovering Him as some mystical thing, or some myth and some abstractive force or energy or something. No, discover Him as the loving Father. That's why that scripture starts with that phrase, our Father. Oh, that talks about personal relationship. Prayer is a place of establishing personal relationship. Personal relationship. Personal relationship with the Master. You should be less religious. In prayers, unfortunately these days, we have been unknowingly taught to be rhetorical, to speak the right words and to use the right language and to pretend to be rich in your language and to be, to be saying some religious words, some prayer terminologies and things. But that's not the most important thing when it comes to prayer. The most important thing really is you and Him. And it's unfortunate that today, because of the desire of pastors and churches to help people to pray, we are more familiar with corporate prayers and with prayers that we do in the midst of people, among all people, and that takes all, it steals from us something. When all we do is corporate prayers, when all we do is praying with people, praying with prayer partner, praying with church, praying in the meetings, praying, with other people there, we lose something. We lose something when we do that. The greatest prayer is still that prayer of you and Him, all by yourself. That prayer is still the prayer when you discover God, when you focus on God, when you concentrate on God, when it's just you and Him. So prayer, today's message is prayer is a place of discovering God and self. So when Jesus was talking about our Lord's Prayer, that's why He started with that and said, start praying like this. Let your prayer start with discovering. Let your prayer start with discovering God. Start by discovering Him. Locate God. Touch God before you begin to pour out your heart. Touch Him. And when you finish making sure that, yes, I am in His presence. Because that is the most important thing. Before you begin to cry and shout and, do all that, make sure you establish a contact. It's like a radio wave, It's like a radio wave. When you You put on your radio, you've got to catch that wave. You've got to catch the wave. You've got to catch the wave. That makes a difference because your transmission, the flow depends on if you catch the wave or not. So that's what we're trying. That's what we're trying. You've got to tune in. So you have got to learn to tune your spirit to the Spirit of God. You've got to learn to tune your spirit to locate the Father and to make sure He's right here with you. To make sure that I've established contact. I can feel He's right here with me right now. And all of us can do that. Learn in prayers to locate God's presence or to practice God's presence. Let me teach you. That's why I was recommending to you my book yesterday that is called You and Your, The Jesus You Never Knew. The Jesus You Never Knew. That book will teach you how to locate Jesus every day, how to practice the presence of Jesus every day, how to touch Jesus every day, and how to see God every day. It's called The Jesus You Never Knew. You can find it on Amazon. But today, let me try by teaching you how to, the most important factor in prayer. The most important factor in prayer is establishing contact with God, with the Father. Like I told you about the example of the radio. When you put on your radio or television, and you need to locate a channel, you need to tune in to a channel, to a wave. That's the same thing here. You need to tune your spirit. Because a lot of things are all around us. A lot of things go on. I mean, sometimes when you come to prayer, you have thoughts about your family, you have thoughts about your children, or you have thoughts about your trouble that you are going through, or you are overwhelmed with your crises or your challenges. A lot of things overwhelm us when we try to pray, and a lot of thoughts come to our mind. You are thinking of that, you are thinking of that, this thought, this, that. But you need to, take your time. That's why God said, be still, just be still. Be still, not physically be still, but it's mainly talking about be still in your mind. Be still in your thoughts. Be still. Just be still. Let all the noise, let all the vanity just stay off. Let all the worry just stay off. Let all the troubles, all the concerns just go out. Make sure that you enter into a moment of rest and peace. Now, what I'm about to teach you now is how do you establish that contact with God? What I'm about to teach you is the ability to practice the presence of God. If you are listening to me now, this will be impossible if you are walking, or you are doing your house chores, or you are doing your kitchen chores right now. If you have to, I want to encourage you before I teach you about this, to try to be alone. If you have the opportunity right now to take your video or to take your iPad or smartphone and just go and find a place where you could be just alone right now. Or maybe you're among people, or maybe put a headphone on, or maybe even if you're among people, but concentrate. I need your concentration, because this thing I'm about to teach you needs that concentration. I want to teach you to establish contact with God when you come to prayer. I want to teach you to begin to seek God in prayer. So, because once you establish that contact with God, once you seek God that way, then you are in direct relationship with Him. Then you are with Him. Then you got a contact. Once you establish that relationship, you can flow. There's nothing better than it. It's not about your prayers being answered now. There is something that is more important in prayers than prayers being answered. This thing I'm about to teach you is more important than getting your prayers answered. And if you could establish relationship and contact with God, that discovery of God is much more important than anything that you could, any prayer that you could got answered. Answering prayer, that is secondary. Problems being resolved, that is secondary. Forget about that. Find God. The most important thing that you could do in prayer is to find God. And that's what I want to teach you now, please. So I hope you are in a solitary place, in a place of solitude now, or you are alone now. If you are alone now, listen to me. God said, Jesus said, when you go to prayer, the first thing you must start to do is to discover God. Discover God. Say, our Father. Not just words. These are not just empty words. Our Father, just say it in the air. No. What Jesus meant is that establish a contact with him. Tune in to the Father. Ooh. Tune in to the Father. The way to do that is this. Every one of us have spiritual sight, because we are not body. This is just the body. You are a spirit man. So your spirit man is inside you. Your spirit man is looking out through your eyes. You are looking out through the windows. Your eyes are the windows. You are the one inside and you're looking out here. So what you do is that instead of looking outward into the outward, why don't you close your eyes right now? Please close your eyes as you listen to me. As you close your eyes, I want you to imagine. This is how you tune into when you go to prayer. You know, the Bible says, I will never leave you nor forsake you. I want you to imagine God just in front of you right now. Or you could imagine yourself just in front of his throne. Just imagine. You don't need to see any image of God physically. You know, you don't need to see anything physically. But just imagine. Just like you can imagine your iPad or telephone or something in front of you. Or just like you could imagine your it's anything in front of you. Just close your eyes and imagine that God is standing right in my presence right now. He's just ahead of me right now. He's just beside me right now. Or at my back. Or he's just all over me right now. See yourself maybe in front of his throne right now, as a little baby, as a child. Maybe on his lap. Maybe on your knees. Maybe you can just, even all of us have seen the crucifix. You've seen Jesus on the cross. Maybe you could imagine that Jesus is just there on the cross and see yourself. You can try to look intently into the wounds of Jesus, into his legs, into the nails going through his legs. Try to see that leg and see yourself at his feet. You could hug those legs if you want. You could try to touch those legs, or at least bow down before the awesomeness of that presence, and let the peace of his presence overwhelm you right now. Let that peace overwhelm you. Let the air of his presence breathe into you. Just imagine yourself in that presence. Once you see God, fix your image on him. And then you begin to discover that it is not needs that is the next thing you want to talk about. It's not problem that is the next thing you want to talk about. It's not some challenges that you want to talk about right now. You want to just love him. Once you see him, you want to love him. That's the first thing that wants to flow out of your mind. So you want to tell him how you love him. You want to tell him thank you for the death he died for you. You want to tell him for that blood that is stripping from his feet and from his head. You want to thank him for the love, for his awesomeness, and how he could love you so much that he even pays attention to you. You want to just acknowledge him. You want to just acknowledge him. You want to come closer to him. You want to hug him. You want to hug his feet, hug his hand. He said, behold, I hold you by your right hand. Maybe you want to imagine him holding you. And when you imagine that, of course you feel goosebumps. Of course you will feel the goosebumps. You will feel the presence of God. You will feel overwhelming. Some people will feel your body will react differently. Sometimes you might feel like some people will feel like crying. Some people will feel like shouting. Some people will feel like screaming. But just breathe in that presence of God. Let's feel that presence. Let him be here. Then you could just begin from there to enjoy his presence. You could just begin from there to talk to him how much you love him, to thank him for his death and resurrection, to thank him for all he has done for you, for being there for you. You can just begin to pour out your heart to him from there. So that is what it means. That is what it means to establish that relationship with God. And when you establish that relationship with God, that could go on for 30 minutes of just you loving on God, just loving on him. It will go on for 1 hour. It could go on for 2 hours. I was talking to another person yesterday. I mean, it will go into worship. So you could see why, what Jesus said is natural. That once you say our Father, once you establish that contact with God, automatically it leads to worship. That's what it says. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be that. You see how it goes on? When you establish God in relationship with God in prayers, when you are able to establish that contact, when you are able to touch God like that, when you are able to discover God, the first thing you want to do after discovering him is not to begin to ask for all your problems or things. It's the next thing you want to do is to worship him. The next thing you want to do is to love him. The next thing you want to do is to draw him closer and to draw yourself closer to him. The next thing you want to do is just to feel his presence and to be immersed in that glory, in the glory of his presence. So this is number one thing that we do in prayers. We discover, and that is why I call this topic, prayer is a place of discovery. It's a prayer of discovering God and self. Prayer is a place of discovering God. So don't be in a hurry in prayer to just begin to talk some language and begin to say something. First of all, take your time to discover God. Now, I want to ask all of you, how many of you succeeded in establishing that contact? How many of you was able to imagine God or Jesus or something, who was able to feel that presence? If you are able to do it, can you write something? Write something. Let me know. I want to hear you. I want to see if it worked out for you. If it worked for you, write something. Write something. Yeah, that's good. That's good. If you are able to feel that touch, why did you feel anything? Did you feel anything? Did you feel anything? Yeah. Did you feel it? That feeling is what you should first of all look for. That touch, that feeling is what you should establish first of all before anything in your prayers. You should first of all make sure that you are a carrier of his presence, that you are a friend of God, that you establish that contact with him, that you've learned to discover him in prayer. If you learn to discover him like that, if you learn to discover his presence, if you learn to practice his presence, if it works for you like that, if you experience that peace, if you experience that glory, you will discover that the most important thing in life is loving him. You will not be deceived by all those rubbish people do in church. You will not, discover, you will not be, be carried away by all kind of empty promises, all those, for breakthrough, today or tomorrow, and all those empty promises. You will value his presence more than you value all those miracles. You will value his presence more than you value all those fake deliverances. You will value his presence more than you value all those, deception that are going on in the churches these days. If you could discover God in prayers, if you could discover God in prayers, if you could discover God in prayers, if you could only discover God in prayer, that is it. Personal relationship with God. Unfortunately, many of us have lost that. Unfortunately, prayer for us has become a religious practice. Unfortunately, we have lost intimacy with the Father. We don't even see that he's there anymore. We don't even feel his presence. But that is what we should look for, first of all. Look for his presence. Look to touch him. Let him touch you. Establish that relationship. Establish that contact. And, like you jump into a river. Jump into the river of his presence. And let that glory of his presence overwhelm you. once you have established that touch of God, every other thing flows from there. And that's what I taught in that my book, The Jesus You Never Knew. And if you read the book, I wrote there practical things and practical steps of how to practice the presence of God. So the most important thing in prayer is that prayer is a place of discovering God. A lot of things have been said about prayer, but prayer, you want to start your prayer with navigating in the Spirit and establishing contact with God. You want to start your prayer life by discovering Him, by touching Him, and by making Him touch you. And once you know that He's there in prayer, then it will be easier for you to practice His presence with you on a daily basis. It will be easier for you to begin to learn how to seek God on a daily basis, like I said. So, let's go back to that. Let's go back to that Matthew chapter 6. Matthew chapter 6. The Bible says here, from verse 5, and when you pray, you shall not be like the hypocrites. When you pray, don't be like the hypocrites. For they love to pray standing in the synagogues. You see, that's another thing, another lesson Jesus is trying to teach us here. That, a lot of prayers these days, it's more like a lot of these prayers we do today in our churches, it's more like those Pharisees and Sadducees prayers, Go and show your eloquence, you see. People want to show their eloquence in prayer. And they want to show how how fluent they can be. And so people like to pray in public. And people like to pray in groups and in other people, and to see how good you really are. And that is a problem we could get to. Religion could get into that deception sometimes. And if you are not careful, you will lose the intimacy. You will be more going and be running after this kind of prayer that Jesus is condemning here. But Jesus is condemning this kind of showcase kind of prayer, whereby you pray standing in the midst of people. Here, Jesus is using the word synagogue, but really today is church. We want to go and pray in church. We want to go and show up and let the pastor know that I'm present, that I came to church today, that I came to prayer meeting, and then we want to pray and let people hear our voice and hear how eloquent we are and those things. And what did Jesus say about this kind of prayer? He said, do not be like them. Do not be like the hypocrites. It is the hypocrites that pray like that. They love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the corners of the streets, that they may be seen by men. He said, when it comes to prayers, don't let your focus be public prayers. Don't let your focus be the prayers where other people are there. That is just service. Those prayers are also necessary, but this is like you are going to serve, to minister. You are going to serve, but it's not building a personal relationship. Those kind of prayers in the churches, those kind of prayers in public places, those kind of prayers in groups, they don't build your personal relationship. They are good. You could go there to pray for the needs of the world, the needs of other people, the needs of the church. But what Jesus is trying to say here is that we should value our personal prayer life more than we value the public prayers, more than we value the group prayers. So he said, don't focus and don't target, don't run after public synagogue corner, public meetings, prayer meetings kind of prayers. Because then you are being seen. But the most powerful prayers are the prayers you pray when you are not being seen. So develop that kind of personal type of prayer when it is just you and Him. The most important thing in prayer is you to discover Him. Not when the whole group and the whole church is discovering Him. That's much more difficult, because it's much more difficult for you to establish that ongoing contact, one-on-one contact with the Father in a group. So you could do it, like I can do it because I'm used to it. But that prayer of privacy, that prayer when you are it's just you and him, that is what God commends. That's what Jesus is encouraging here. So he said, don't pray, don't groan after the prayers when you are being seen by men. Don't be after people seeing you, and don't be after people, knowing how eloquent you are and that you can pray like this or all that. He said, because people who pray like that, they have lost their reward. Their reward becomes what they got. They have already received their reward. Their reward becomes that the eloquence is their reward. That group and commendation from people becomes their reward. That thing people are telling them by looking that pastor has seen that they have shown up, or their brothers and sisters have seen that they have shown up in church, that becomes their reward. So they will not get answer to the prayers they are praying. They will only get rewarded by the fact that other people are commending them, or other people are seeing that they have come or think about them well. That is the only answer they will get. That is their reward. But if you are interested in real reward, real result in prayer, and always go after discovering the Father in prayers. And once you discover the Father in prayer, once you discover Him, establish one-on-one fellowship, one-on-one relationship. So Jesus continues by saying, but you, when you pray, go into your room. You see, that is the prayer that is most valuable. And that is the prayer that we are not always talking about too much today. Though these days in churches, we always want to talk about corporate prayers. And we always want to encourage people to come to prayer meetings, to come together to pray in church. That is good, but it's not the most powerful kind of prayer. The most powerful prayer that Jesus is trying to talk about, to teach us, is the intimacy, the personal kind of relationship. So he says, when you pray, go into your room. Just like I told you today, go into your room. Just go and be alone with God. Go into your room and find a secret place. When you have shut your door, pray to your Father. It's you and Him, to your Father. That is why I'm saying that prayer is a place of discovering God. The most important thing about prayer is to discover God. The most important thing about prayer is to discover God. And later on, discover yourself. Oh, I'm feeling that I might not be able to get to discovering self today. This morning, maybe tonight, maybe I'll continue tonight. My prayer, this teaching might be set in two parts. So I'm mostly going to talk about a prayer, a place of discovering God this morning, and then this afternoon, this evening, I'm going to talk about prayer as a place of discovering yourself as well. But you see, so what Jesus is saying here and teaching us is focus on you discovering Him. Focus on locating Him in prayers. Focus on finding Him. So he says, but when you pray, go into your room. And when you have shut your door, pray to your Father. He's my Father. I'm not praying to God somewhere. No. I'm not praying. I'm not talking to God somewhere, some God somewhere. No. I'm talking to my Father. I'm talking to my Father. Is that not cool? I'm talking to my Father. Is that not wonderful? It's me and Him. It's me and Him. I feel like hugging Him. I feel like hugging Him. I feel like putting my head on His shoulder. Putting my head on His breast. I feel like lying on His bosom. He's my Father. He's my Father. He's my Father. So He says, shut the door. Can you believe that? Jesus said, shut the door. Shut that door. Shut that door. And do what I just taught you to do this morning. I told you the same thing. Go and shut that door. Go and close that door. Just be lonely with Him. Let it be you and Him. And just love on the Master. Oh, just hug Him. Let your head rest on His shoulder. Just draw Him close. Wow, nothing like it. Prayer is a place of discovering God and self. Prayer is a place of discovering God and self. Forget about all the cliches. Forget about all the, my enemy this, my enemy. When you discover God, you will not have time to be causing any enemy. When you discover God, you will think less about the enemy. When you discover God in prayer, you will discover love. When you discover God, you will not like that your enemy to die. You will discover compassion. You will discover love, and loving kindness. You will discover loving kindness to that your enemy. When you really discover God, you can never think of trying to tell somebody to die. Even if they want you to die, you will not let them. You will not want them to die. You don't want evil for any man. When you discover God in prayer, it's so paradoxical that we say we are going to pray, and then we are praying that people will die, and we are praying that God will punish somebody, and we are praying that bad will happen to other people. It means we don't even discover God in prayers at all. It means we just go to prayer to just do our thing. It means we are not following the script that Jesus has given us about prayer. And the script Jesus has given us in prayer is that when you go to prayer, the first thing that must happen to you, the first thing you must look after is to be still until you discover God, until you discover that presence, until you go touch him. And when you touch him, you can never be the same. When you feel that presence, when you know you have touched him by your faith, in your eyes, in your spiritual eyes, in your inner eyes, when you know you have seen him, when you know he's here, when you know you can touch him, then it's all love from there. It's all love. From there is all worship. It's all pouring of heart to him. It's all receiving his love. It's all, changing to his image. Changing to his image. So Jesus says, but you, when you pray, go into your room. Go into your room. Room, it's not always talking about, going to be alone. Sometimes you might need to go to the room of your heart. When you even though you are in the midst of all people, even though you are maybe you are in the train station, or you are in a train, or maybe you are in the underground or in the metro, but even while you are in the midst of the mall, supermarket, you can still go into your room. You can go to the room of your heart and close and shut down outside world. You can still be in the crowd of people and still go into yourself. Go into your room. Shut down the outside world and just be alone with your master. That process and that procedure of shutting down everything else in your mind, in your thoughts, in your environment, and just being alone with him, that is the intimacy you needed in prayer. Just when you just see him alone, when you establish that contact only with him, even though your eyes could be opened, even though your eyes could be open and you could be seeing all around you, people doing things, but you are not looking at them, you are not seeing them. You are seeing him that is on the throne of your heart. You are seeing him that is beside you. You are seeing him that will never leave you nor forsake you. You are seeing him that is hanging on the throne for your sake. You are seeing him that is hugging you, that you are hugging. You are seeing him that is, that is overwhelming you with his presence. And you are feeling his presence like no other. That is unbelievable. That is unbelievable. That is unbelievable. That is unbelievable. So that's what he's talking about. When you pray, go into your room. Go into your room. To the room of your heart. Or maybe to your physical room sometimes. If you can afford it, if you can afford to go to a physical place where you could just be alone. Yes. Before I got to know how to do this, I used to think that prayer was boring. I used to be afraid of being alone. It was just to be alone to pray. I used to say, what will I pray about? I used to just think, if I pray for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, that is finished. That I don't know what to talk about again. Because I used to think that prayer is about request. That prayer is about asking something. And that's why you don't have anything to talk about anymore. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I told her, and she had my testimony that I used to go away from a week every month, and I will go and pray for between 10 to 18 hours every day. And she said, how can you pray for 18 hours a day? How can you be, and she wanted to know what I do in those prayers. What do you do? 18 hours in the presence of God. And for a week like that, not just for one day, but for a whole week. But because when you establish his presence into the room, into the atmosphere, when you know he's just here and you and him alone, when you have become still before him, when you have entered into that peace and into that presence, when you are touching him, when his presence is overwhelming you, when you are touching him that way, when you know he's right here and you are right here in his presence, all troubles flow away, fly away. All evil thoughts, all kind of things. You just want to see him. You just know that he is there, and he becomes the center of your focus. And you just like want to be with him. You just want to talk to him. You just want to worship him. You just want to love on him. When you begin to know how to discover God like that in prayer, when you discover and establish that contact with him, when you have been able to tune in like that, when you have that wave of just focusing on him and seeing him alone, you will discover that it's not a big deal to be in this. You don't need to run away from it because it's in an intimate relationship. It's such a personal thing that he overwhelms you with his grace, with his presence. You just want to love on him. Even if you are not praying, even if you are not saying anything, just being in that presence is the greatest of prayers. When you establish him, when you discover him, when you have established that contact with him, sometimes words are excess, words are extra. Words are not needed anymore. You just want to establish that contact with him. When that contact is established and you know you are in tune and you know he's here, you can feel him, you can see him, and you can just hold on to him, hang on to him. Every parent knows this. Sometimes when your little 3-year-old baby or 4-year-old or 5-year-old kid comes and just hang on to your leg or just hang on to you, to your chest, and just comes and lie down on you, words are not needed anymore. In that kind of situation, you don't need words. You don't need words. When your baby, can you picture that? When your 3-year-old kid, 5-year-old kid, or 1-year-old kid just comes and hangs on to you and just hangs on to you like that, what kind of words do you need? What kind of prayer do you need? So when you can establish relationship with God that way, when you can discover God like that in prayers, it's the most precious thing. 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 So that's kind of thing Jesus was trying to teach us when he said that we should go to a place where you could do that. Go to a place where you could do that. But unfortunately, in our country, Nigeria, where I come from, and in Africa in general, prayer, we have only been taught not intimacy in prayers, but we have been taught more of warfare, because they always want us to be aware of enemies. So when you go to prayer, you don't notice God. You just be fighting. Where you just want to bind Satan, want to bind enemy, want to bind this, want to bind this. You want to just bind and loose and do this. There are places for that, but that is not this form of prayer. That is another form of prayer when you go out there and you want to go and do things for God and wrought wonders for God and things. But when it is you alone, this is the height of prayer. This is the crux of prayer. This is the pinnacle of prayer, of establishing personal contact, of discovering God in prayer, in intimacy. That intimate part of prayer is the greatest thing that could happen to you. It's the greatest thing that could happen to you. And that is the kind of prayer Jesus was talking about when he says, when you pray, go into your room. Not to fight, not to, no. To locate him, to find him, to discover him, to love on him, to hug him, to embrace him, to pour your heart to him, to thank him, to appreciate him, to feel his presence. This is the greatest prayer. This is the greatest prayer. Discovering God in prayers. But when you pray, go into your room, and when you have shut your door, oh my, when you have shut that door, when you have shut that door, shut the door to problems, shut the door to worries. When you have shut that door to what to eat and what to drink, when you have shut that door to what to wear, when you have shut that door to the mundane things of life, when you have shut that door to worries of what will happen to you, security and things like that, when that door has been shut, then it could just be him and you. The greatest door that must be shut is the doors of your worries, the doors of your thoughts, the doors of, that you have opened to all of that worries and concerns. Shut those doors. When that door has been shut, then talk to your Father who is in heaven. Talk to your Father. Pray to your Father who is in heaven. And who is in secret. And that Father who is in secret. And your Father who is in secret, who sees you in secret, who sees your secrets and desire. Even before you ask him for anything, he already sees it. Even before you tell him what you need, he already knows. Even before you ask, he already heard. Just forget about problems. Just love on him. Draw closer to him. Let him draw closer to you. When you do that, like for 2 hours or 1 hour, you just need about 1 minute or 2 minutes to just tell him about what you are going through. You don't even need to talk to him about what you are going through. I don't even, I don't know. If I spend, let's say, 10 hours in the presence of God, maybe my own prayers, I only pray for my own needs, maybe 1 minute. I don't even need to do that anymore. The need for you to be praying and reminding God about your own prayer, they fall away. And that's why Jesus said, you would not need to be like those Gentiles who keep on repeating their prayers and keep on repeating themselves. You will not need to do that. Why is it that you will not need to do that? Because you've already established such a relationship, such a contact. You have already drawn him so close to you. You are already hanging on to him. He's feeling your heartbeat. You don't need to repeat that you need this, we should do this for you. No, you are so close to his heart already. It's already, you just know he has had you. You just know you don't need to ask him. You just know he cares more for you than for you to be begging him to do anything for you. Why do you need to beg him to do anything for you when you know he knows everything? I mean, you are in touch with him. That is why this is the most important thing in prayer. Therefore, prayer is a place of establishing, is discovering God, and a place of discovering yourself. So, when you have discovered God like that, the Bible says your Father, it has to be personal. It has to be personal. It has to be personal. Your Father. When you have discovered that it's your Father, when you have discovered that personal, intimate relationship with him, when you know it's your Father, when you know it's your Lord, it's your friend, it's your master, it's your superior, it's your everything, it's your love, it's your passion, it's your addiction, it's your obsession. When you know that you have established that contact with him, when you see him before your eyes, when you hugged him, when you have discovered that he's your Father, that personal relationship, that personal contact, when you know that he's your Father, that is when, in secrecy, you've done that one-on-one with him. That is when you will be sure that your Father, who is in secret, your Father, my Father will take care of it. Just like you and can you imagine if your father is a billionaire and a millionaire and you have the best relationship with him, the best relationship with that your father? You don't need to beg that kind of father for anything. Your father will fix it, and it's in his power to do it, and he knows your needs. You know, you don't even need to remind your father about it. And when your father know that you love him, that he is the love of your life, and he can afford everything. When that relationship, that friendship, that personal rapport is established, when that personal love is established, you will always be sure of the action of your father. You will know that your father, that's why God is saying, it's not that God will do it. No, God is too far. God is too distant. Not God somewhere, some God. No. When it is your father, when you know that it's your father, when you know that it's your father, and you are in the best relationship with him, you know your father will fix it. Your father will fix it. Your father who sees your secret, the secret, who sees you, who sees in secret, will reward you openly. So don't worry about it. He will fix it. He will reward you openly. So that's why Jesus now said, when you have discovered God like that, as a personal father, as a personal love of your life, when you are obsessed with him, when you love him with all your heart, with all your soul, when you love him with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind, when it has become the love of your life, oh Jesus, oh Jesus, when it has become the love of your life that way, then Jesus said, you will never need to use vain repetitions. You will never need to. If you need to repeat anything, you just want to repeat that I love you a million times. You want to repeat it to him that you love him a million times. I love you, Jesus. I love you, Jesus. I love you, Jesus. Because you are lost of words. Because you don't have enough vocabulary. But then you will begin to discover that if all your ears were tongues, they are not enough to praise him. Those are the kind of things you could be repetitive about. But you are not going to be going to him and saying, oh, you remember I need to pay my house rent. Oh, God, I've asked you now yesterday. Oh, God, you know I told you now. Oh, God, you know there's nothing to eat. Oh, you know my school fees. Oh, you know, you are not going to. That's why Jesus said, don't be like the Gentiles. It is the Gentiles who are repetitious about their needs because they become the ego. They are the idol of their lives. They are the center of their lives. But when God becomes the center of your life like this, when God becomes the center of your love, the center of your heart, the center of your prayers, when you have discovered him and you have established him, a relationship with him, and you have made him the Lord of your life, the Lord of your prayer life, the Lord of your relationship, when he has become all in all to you, when he has become the overwhelming love and his presence is overwhelmed you already, you don't need to be repetitive. You don't even need to be talking about yourself anymore. You don't even need to be reminding of all your problems. You don't even need to be talking about your problems. It is what pagans do. They focus on their problems. It is not God that is overwhelming them. It is their problem that is overwhelming them. It is not, the love of God that is overwhelming them. It is the desire, the love of self, and the desire to get themselves, solution that is what is overwhelming them. That's why when you really discover God for real, you will not your needs will not be the focus of your prayers anymore. And it's going to be your love that will be the focus of your prayer. It's going to be him that will be the focus of your prayer. So do not use vain repetitions as the heathens do. You see, the Gentiles, the heathens, the pagans are the ones who do that. Why do they repeat? Because they are repeating because they are always worried. They are always concerned about their needs, about their problems, it is about them. Prayer is about them and their needs. It is not about you. It is not about God and God's heart and the love for him. But the Bible says we should love him with all our hearts, with all our soul, and with our spirit. And so, for they think that they will be hurt by their many words. You see, the people, pagans, think, who are repeating and repetitive, they think they will be hurt by their many words. But really, you will be hurt by your much love, by your much love, by your many love, by your much dedication, by your closeness to God, by your much intimacy. That is what it's all about. So prayer, like I said, is a place of discovering God and self. Tonight I will continue to talk about the second part of that, which is prayer is a place of discovering self. Now I've talked to you about prayer as a place of discovering God. Tonight I will talk to you about prayer being a place of discovering self. So I want you to write, please. I want to read your comments. I want you to write what you feel about this message. Please tell me what you got about this message. What is your lesson? And what are you going to do with this message you just heard today? What did you learn today? Right, tell me what you've learned. What's your conclusion? What is going to change in your life? Please write this. And if you have not shared the link yet, please go to your share button right now. I'm going to be reading the comments. Go to your share button and share the link, please. Go and share the link. I think other Christians need to hear this message. I think so. If you think the same, you might want to share it and let other people hear the message as well. Shidi Obinelo said, "Oh my God, this is the best gospel I've ever heard in my whole life. Thank God." Akisonya Owolabi said, "Thank God for the gift of God in your life. Our pastors have made us to believe in warfare prayers than praying to the Father. Praying to the Father gives men confidence." Yes, yes. Obina Ofoshuku said, "There is a path of life in His presence. You will show me the path of life in your presence. In your presence is the fullness of joy, with heartfelt in prayer." Yeah. Annie Atama said, "Wow, thank you, Jesus. Praise God for this." Brenda says, "I love you, Jesus." Peter Foley says, "Man of God, as you speak about this deep love, I feel goosebumps all over me here in the room. God bless you, sir, for the timely revelation by the Holy Spirit." Thank you. Oluwatoyin said, "I love you, Jesus." Ranti Ajoke said, "I love you, Jesus." Raphael says, "I am truly overwhelmed hearing this message today, and I'm truly blessed. My heart is gladdened within me, and joy of the Lord is my strength." God bless you more. Thank you. Gift Amos, "God bless you, Pastor, for teaching me how to love my Heavenly Father afresh." Thank God. Sarah Simeon says, "I'm blessed by this message." If you want to read more about it, you can get my book, The Jesus You Never Knew. We are Christians, but we don't really know Him. And you want to get that book on Amazon. Ladi Shorunke says, "My earthly father never gave me love. It is easy for me to discover the love of God, of my Heavenly Father, through prayer, because I was yearning for fatherly love." Wow. Tiger says, "The church in Nigeria magnifies Satan by always making the people more conscious of Satan in their prayers rather than focusing on God. It's a pity. It's a pity." Oluwayomi Adedeji said, "Oh, this is timely. God bless you, Pastor. My prayer life is beginning to get to the next level. Thank God." Nikki Christian said, "It's a great feeling having personal relationship with God." Anu Ojo said, "Yes, Pastor, religion has interchanged the essence of prayer for intimacy, from intimacy to warfare." It's a pity. Obina said, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil." It didn't say you kill my enemy. You've been in the presence of my enemy. My cups run over. When you kill all your enemies, tell me where God will prepare a table again. Olukayode said, "This is another secret dug up this morning by Pastor Sunday Adelaja." Hallelujah. Grace Odon said, "That's totally true to me. At first, prayer was a burden, but thank God for the grace of understanding. The place of prayer now is a place I want to be all the time. Thank God." Oyewo Noah said, "This is a solid foundation for a successful Christian life. as oxygen to physical life, so is prayer to the spiritual life, sir. No, sir. Favor said, powerful. When you ask God for the death of your enemies in the place of prayer, that means you haven't even discovered God yet. Yes, you have not discovered God. Raphael says, individual prayer is way of communicating with God and hearing from God, and this can only work when you have a relationship with God, while corporate prayers of intercession for another church and family nation. Yeah. Apostle Mikey Bitoye said, yes, sir, we should not look at people in the eyes of the law while praying, but in the eyes of grace. The law brings judgment and condemnation, but grace extends the love of God. Amen. Okay said, this is quite revolutionary in discovering God and His fullness through prayer. Brenda Williams said, we value the public prayer more than our personal time with God because of what the church has been teaching. They teach us that one shall chase 1,000 and two shall chase 10,000. So a lot of Christians think group prayers is more powerful and end up not having a personal relationship with God. We have been taught wrong. I thank God for delivering me from all the garbage that I've been practicing. Thank you, Pastor. Sandra said, when you discover God, you will think less of enemies because your mind and heart is focused only on your Heavenly Father. Yes. Hope says, shut the door of distraction, worries, and anxiety, wants, and talk to the Father. That's so true. Peter Foley said, knowing that God is there with you behind the closed doors gives you a lot of confidence that you can never forget. Yeah. Sandra said, I'm super blessed and my prayer life has been renewed. May God's anointing never run dry on your life, Pastor Sunday. Amen. Fumi Adewusi said, henceforth I will cease from repeating prayer and warfare prayer. No, you don't need to cease from warfare prayer sometimes. Sometimes it's needed in rare cases, but you know, this is more important. Personal prayer. Establishing relationship with God. Stephen Koch says, this is the best way to describe effective fervent prayer. Thank you, Pastor. Flair Karin Matip said, a new life of prayer starts for me. This teaching is the response of one of my questions to the Lord. Why I don't really enjoy your presence as I should. Really blessed prayer, Pastor. Thank you so much. Ola Martin said, I need to listen to this teaching over and over. Yeah, I think all of us need to listen to this teaching over and over again. Lord, have mercy for praying the wrong way. Mashu Esong says, I've been listening to you right from the beginning, and this is to me the most important message so far. I've been praying differently after yesterday's message. God bless you, sir. Bash Ojelabi said, always feel fulfilled and happy in His presence. This morning teaching will always prepare me to enter into His presence. Thank you, Pastor. Shegun Fatuma said, I need to save this video and listen over and over again. Esther Kuganja said, conclusion, I have not been fruitful in prayer because of doing it the wrong way. I have now learned the true order of prayer, relationship and connection, which then automatically leads to worship, then God's needs, and lastly, which is even optional, my needs. Brilliant. That's a good conclusion. Patricia says, I have always wondered how I can be lost in the presence of God, but I know how to walk myself into his presence now. Thank you, Pastor, for what God is using to teach us more. God bless. Oye was, Noah said, really, I see prayer is one of the most misunderstood concepts of the scripture. Thank you for shedding light. Nkiru Ojimadu said, very deep and very simple at the same time. We have to learn to keep calm in the time of prayer and locating. It's not about so much noise, canceling and binding and losing. It's about him. Cecile says, Pastor, sometimes when I pray, I feel the presence of God all over my body. Become like I have electricity. Yeah, that's good. Kike Moronkeji. Prayer is like deep calling out onto the deep. It's a connection of my spirit with God's spirit. It's more intimate than the intimacy between a husband and a wife. Yeah, it is. This type of prayer is what I must aim for because it does away with selfishness, egocentrism, and self-centered thinking. Thank you, sir, for your enlightenment. Olajide said, please explain our interaction with the Holy Spirit as we fellowship with the Father. It's the same thing. Don't separate them. Holy Spirit and the Father and God, they are all the same. Rotimi Best said, my lesson today is that prayer is not about me. It's about God. Yeah, that's good. Emmanuel said, wow, awesome. I'm delivered. It's a deliverance service. I'm delivered. I now know why I can't stay long in the place of prayer. I see myself doing now instead of why I can stay long in the place of prayer. I see myself doing now instead of hearing alone. Rochelle White says, I've been amazed at these last 3 messages on prayer. It's completely going to change my whole prayer life. Amen. Bakari Ayodeji said, thank you very much, sir, for this truth. I have been having issues with my personal devotional life lately. This is really a great revelation. Thank you, sir. Michael Owokade said, this is the best for me since the series started. God bless you, sir. Akinsanya Owolabi said, thank God for the gift of God in your life. Our pastors have made us to believe in warfare prayers than prayer to the Father. Prayer, intimacy with the Father gives confidence, okay? Ademola Titus says, I learned to not worry about any needs than to love God than any other thing. Thank you, Pastor. Jacqueline Ojo said, my best message ever. I'm just wowed. Thank God. Thank God. Month of peace or something. Annie Atama said, yes, I need to listen to this message again. I was distracted many times. Faith Onyeshi says, I really love this teaching. I believe when we develop intimacy with him, we will not be running from one pastor to the other. Thank you, Pastor, for the teaching. Sirop Mba Lenle said, very insightful. Thank you, Pastor. Shegun Lawal says, it is real, sir. Sometimes I enjoy prayer even when I'm walking on the street like I'm praying behind closed doors. Yes. Well, our time today is over. We'll continue this teaching tonight, sorry. Tonight at 9 o'clock our time, which is 7 p.m. Nigerian time, 7 p.m. British time, 8 p.m. European time, and 2, I think that is 2 p.m. American time. God bless you all. Bye.